Good morning to our viewers here in Nigeria, those of us watching us from across the world. Thank you for joining us on Monday morning on Breakfast Central. Remember, as always, to be a part of our conversations this morning, where we share with you the major conversations happening here in Nigeria. I am Osaogi Ogbon, and of course, getting into the conversations this morning, we'll just kick off with some of the big things that happened over the weekend, kicking off in Kano State, where there were the local government elections all cleared. All 44 local government areas cleared by the NNPP. The reports of violence, first of all, in the elections, or, there's certain pictures and videos that emerged showing residents in Kano State or the electorate in Kano State disrupting the voting process and destroying voting materials. But that didn't in any way, change the outcome of the elections, where we see that 44 local government areas in Kano State were all won by the NNPP. If you remember, in 2023 general elections, the NNPP took over Kano State, which of course had been held by the APC for quite a while for successive governments. So congratulations to these new local government chairmen in Kano State in the NNPP, and we'll get to share our thoughts on what this means in just a few seconds. Ola?
Yes, indeed. And welcome to the show again. It's the final Monday, I beg your pardon, in the month of October. And I am all even more excited to be bringing you Breakfast Central. Now, this morning, away from NNPP and the decisive win in Kano State, we'll be looking at the updates regarding a new aircraft. Aircrafts are now in conversation. We're seeing that there might be the possibility of that. The Borno speaker has asked for a new plane for the vice president, especially because of the incidents where his trip to Samoa had to be cancelled because there was allegedly a foreign object that hit the president's plane. And now the speaker is asking that the vice president's plane be replaced. And now the question is, can Nigeria afford to prioritize, a new plane? Is it as important? Looking at, in the grand scheme of things, looking at the fact that we are battling an economic crisis that has never before been experienced by Nigerians. So it's how we are to balance security with what some people will consider luxury. Aren't there other planes that maybe can be used? Is this the only plane that can be used? Especially because we haven't even gotten off from the controversy surrounding the president's purchase of a new presidential jet. So are we going back to the same, drawing board? These are some of the questions that are being asked. And, I'd like your thoughts too on that as well.
So I'm going to come back to this, but just to quickly touch on the NNPP in Kano story, my point, the point that I think is important to make is, the fact that pretty much we complain about the same thing with Imo State, complain about the same thing with River State, with the local government elections, and this seeming tradition where local government elections or House of Assembly elections just seem to be all taken by one party. It's not necessarily a clear sign of electoral fraud, but I just would never see that and interpret that as a healthy democracy or a healthy electoral process. It's not very logical to see that. It's just mostly in Nigeria. I've not really followed the local government elections in other parts of the world, of course here in Africa, but it just doesn't sound normal that one party will just win all the seats, in a local government, and it's mostly the ruling party, that happens with. In River State, we saw the same thing with the APP winning all 22 or 23 local government seats in River State. In Imo State, we saw the same thing with the APC. So it's a regular tradition, and my view, and I'm not the only one who holds that view, is that it's not a sign of a healthy democracy or a healthy electoral process that is being practiced. And it's not logical. It doesn't make a lot of sense that no other party will be able to, win even one seat in local government elections or House of Assembly elections most of the time. But it's what it is. We of course, we'll look closer at the complaints with regards the NNPP in Kano State, and of course the reports of violence that also occurred during the elections. But moving away, let's now move to the vice president's plane. With regards to the story, it is the Borno State Speaker that, of course, is making these claims. It's not necessarily the Nigerian government or the vice president himself that is making demands for a new plane. the current administration is still dealing, well, maybe not even anymore, but there's still that air hanging over the purchase of the president's plane.
Jet, yeah.
There's still no clarity from the presidency or from the administration how much that plane was purchased, if there was budgetary allocation for it, where did the money come from, who it was, purchased from, and whatnot. So those questions still hanging. But just to be clear, it is not the presidency or the vice president that is making claims for a new plane to be bought for him. It is the Speaker of Borno State. The claim that a foreign object struck the president's plane is still not good enough to sell to the Nigerian people as to why Nigeria maybe needs to buy an airplane for the vice president, and I don't think anybody would buy that story.
But usually, if you follow the trajectory of how things occur in Nigeria, usually it's just
it starts that way.
Yeah, it starts that way, and eventually becomes a thing. If you recall how the presidential jets were purchased, it was just there's a possibility of this news report, and before you know, actually it had been purchased, and we found out only because of the deal with the Chinese firm deal with Ogun State, and the season of the presidential jets. That's how we got to find out.
Yeah, I agree. But I just, at least for balance, wanted to make it clear that it's currently not the presidency or the vice president's office that is making the demand for a new plane. It's the Borno State Speaker. Yes, we saw the report, of a foreign object striking the vice president's plane in the United States. But I don't think anybody's going to buy that story or buy that excuse as good enough to spend, another maybe millions of dollars buying a new plane when Nigeria is currently dealing with, its current economic realities. I think, it's important that, our leaders as it stands must take into cognizance what Nigerians are currently dealing with. And the excuse, because I remember that we had a conversation concerning the president's plane back then, and one of the people that we spoke with, his excuse was that, it's not so much money. Nigeria can, definitely afford a new plane for the president without disrupting other economic, activities that need to go on in the country. But even that excuse, just sounds very arrogant and disrespectful, to what the current reality for Nigerians is.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's going to buy this one. I don't think it's going to be an easy sell to Nigerians. But again, it is the Borno State Speaker, and if you remember, the vice president is the former governor of Borno State. It is Borno State Speaker that is making this claim for a new jet.
And just in case anyone is considering it, we must remember and remind ourselves of what the current reality is. You've seen the news reports are not the most pleasant. 10,000 oil marketers in the next 45 days will be closing shop if nothing is being done.
Yeah.
With the current realities, they're not able to afford. I was seeing the staggering numbers of 7 million to 47 million to be able to buy one tank of petrol. So it's not a good look. I saw the story about the hospitals that are being shut down, a lot of private hospitals that are being shut down. So just in case, because that's how it starts. There's no smoke without fire in Nigeria.
The report says about 50% of private hospitals, are shutting down, because they cannot continue to.
In a country where we already naturally struggle with healthcare availability, accessibility, affordability. So having 50% of private hospitals shutting down is not a good look.
I think I also saw the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria make, the claim or the announcement that about 760 plus, I think, manufacturers had also closed shop. But I mean, that's for entrepreneurs and business owners and manufacturers. There's also the reality for the average Nigerian, the average household, who's also struggling to feed. Not very many people will be able to afford the 2 square meals that they had, a year ago, 2 years ago. Right now, many families are having to deal with just 1 meal a day, and figuring out a way to survive from there. So it's not the time to be selling the idea of a new plane for the vice president. So there's, that story as well. There's also, of course, the story in sports. I believe that our sports team will, they already took it, over the weekend, but it's also important to mention, and that is the fine by the Confederation of African Football against the Libyan football team. Who currently will be, likely eliminated. They currently have just 1 point from their group. Nigeria, of course, with this ruling now moves up to 10 points in the group and will, very likely qualify, except, a miracle happens, which I don't expect. But yes, the Libyan Football Federation has been found to breach Article 31 of the CAF Cup of Nations regulations, as well as Article 82 and 151 of the CAF Disciplinary Code, when, of course, they seem to try to frustrate the Super Eagles in Libya by diverting their plane to an airport, where the plane wasn't meant to be, and keeping them there without food or water for about 18 hours. Right after that, of course, the Nigerian team then had to abandon the game that was, they were scheduled to, of course, return to Nigeria, which, of course, everyone agreed with that was the right thing to do. The tactics that, the Libyan team maybe hoped that would work to frustrate the Nigerians and demoralize them ahead of the match didn't work, or maybe they overplayed their hand. And the defense that, the Super Eagles of Nigerian Football Federation had done the same thing to Libya, obviously wasn't a good enough defense for the actions that the Libyan government team took, or the Libyan Football Federation took. If you claim that when you were in Nigeria weeks ago, months ago, that you seemingly had the same inconvenience that was, orchestrated by the Nigerian Football Federation, no matter how tiny or large, why didn't you make a complaint then? Why didn't you bring it up to, to CAF back then? Take the actions that they took, obviously, completely illegal, and CAF has, stated that, they must be disciplined. So they've been fined $50,000
to pay within the next 60 days.
Yes, and of course forfeited that game. 3 points awarded to Nigeria. And of course, the Libyan team will be eliminated.
So we're on the brink of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Well, congratulations to Nigeria, I will say. But again, I'm hoping that we learn the lessons there. We're all Africans, and that's no way to treat ourselves. That's no way to treat each other. When we talk about imbibing the spirit of sportsmanship, charity should begin at home. We see other leagues, when they're playing matches, at the end of the match, they're exchanging jerseys. There's a spirit of sportsmanship, even though you're willing or you came there with an intention to win. But we must try to imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship.
All those tricks happen every now and then, but I think
they pushed it a little too far.
Yeah, they just thought it was just too much.
Anyway, let's bring you our top stories this morning and share with you what's happening throughout the show today.
Now let's begin breakfast headlines by bringing you updates on the building collapse in the Federal Capital Territory. The FCTA, through the Emergency Management Department, FEMD, has revealed that a tragic building collapse in Gidashe State, Sabon, Lugbe area on the airport road in Abuja has claimed the lives of 7 persons. FEMD also dismissed media claims that 40 people were trapped beneath the rubble of the structure after the building collapsed. News Central's Amadine Uy reports that the FCT authorities had previously demolished the building as it was said to be located in an illegally acquired area. And now to the education sector, the non-academic staff unions of Nigerian universities have declared an indefinite nationwide strike over the continuous withholding of their members' 4 months' salaries since 2022. The Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, disclosed this in a statement on Sunday. And now to politics. The Kano Independent Electoral Commission has issued certificates of return to the newly elected 44 local government chairmen across the state. The certificates were issued by the Commission's chairman, Professor Sani Malumfashi, on Sunday. Malumfashi noted that the Commission has the mandate to issue the certificates and urged the newly elected local government chairmen and councillors to discharge their duties effectively. The report also stated that the state governor, Abba Yusuf, would soon swear in the chairman at the government house in Kano State. The State Electoral Commission had declared the new Nigeria People's Party the winner of all the 44 chairmanship positions and the 484 councillorship positions in Saturday's local government election in the state. And the former vice president and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has observed that the ongoing electricity crisis in Nigeria has reached critical levels, particularly affecting the southeast, northwest, and northeast regions, which have faced complete blackouts for the past 3 weeks. Away from Nigeria, the death toll following a fuel tanker explosion near the Ugandan capital Kampala last week has risen to 24. The East African country has witnessed several similar disasters in recent years, with people rushing to scoop fuel from tankers involved in road accidents. Communications Minister Godfrey Kabianga said since some of the dead were burnt beyond recognition, the police have been working tirelessly to identify the deceased through DNA testing. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's head now back to Breakfast Central to continue with our top stories. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
The FCT Emergency Management Agency has confirmed 7 dead at the building collapse in Sabon, Lugbe of Abuja. News Central Television visited the scene at the Vidash Estate area, located several kilometers away from the city center. And Amadin Uyi files this report.
Mustafa Yusuf is a resident of Lugbe in Abuja. Mustafa can best be described as a scavenger, scavenging debris of abandoned sites like this one at the Vidash Estate, located at the Sabon Lugbe area of the FCT, for metals and anything of value to sell. Mustafa is among one of the lucky ones who escaped a building which collapsed at the location, killing 7 persons. He says that he was on site when the event occurred.
Abin da ya faru a wancan gini sun yanke fulolin ƙasa. Mun zo muna cewa mutane su fita wasu ba su fita ba, sai kuma Allah ya kawo to an gama yanke ƙasan da ya rarrake to shine shi gini ya yanke saboda da faduwa aikin da abin da ya faru duka bai fi karfe 1:30 ba.
He also expressed his regret at the demise of other scavengers.
Ina takaici saboda duk yan uwana ne, duk mai neman abinci kaga dan uwana ne, da Kirista da Musulmi duka yan uwana ne, ban bambanta ba. Kowanne aboki neman abinci ne. Kuma wanda suka rasa Allah ya ji kansu da gafara, wanda kuma ba su lafiya kuma Allah ya kara musu lafiya.
News Central Television was on site and also spoke to some on the location who expressed their views on the incident.
Ba za mu iya gano, yi dai gaskiya ba zan iya gano mutane suka rasu ba. Ko ba haka ba, gaskiya ba zan iya gano saboda ni ban je na an fara fito da wasu, gaskiya ban tsaya na kalla ba.
I feel very bad, honestly, because in making them die is all they need to look for what to eat, and in the process of removing and get what to eat, that is where this incident happened to them. That thing why it happened, the place is Fulani full. The one why they die and the one why they die for hospital. Because of that thing, we need, if the government made them help us, because of that what happened is bad thing. It don't bad.
What pain me is that is a FCD responsibility. Before anybody start working, if there is demolition there, they should stop the work. Look at people spend billions of naira, they come and demolish, which is very wrong. Please, they should be walking around Abuja. Anywhere they start building, before they would do something like this, they should stop the project.
While there have been different figures bandied about on the exact number of persons who lost their lives, the FCT Emergency Management Agency says that 7 died, while several others escaped with various degrees of injury. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Well,
That was a very, very sad report there. And I mean, we're not in any way undermining their death. We understand that these people are trying to make ends meet. Very, very sad situation there. I mean, the story just says that the FCDA was meant to demolish that building. It was marked for demolition. And because the demolition did not happen that weekend, they went to scavenge. So this is also an opportunity to please appeal to us as Nigerians. I know that things are hard. I know that situation is hard, but you have to be alive to be able to make ends meet. So, you know, putting ourselves in like situations like that, you know, in uncomfortable and risky situations, is not worth your life.
All right. Right. Of course, you know, would bring you updates on that story as they emerge. Nigeria's Minister for Works, David Umahi, is under fire from the House of Representatives Committee on Federal Roads Maintenance Agency for his handling of the country's deplorable roads. The committee chairman, Remio Oseni, accused Umahi of misplaced priorities, saying that funding isn't the issue, but rather the minister's focus on less important projects.
Umahi attributed the poor state of roads to a lack of resources, but Oseni countered that the minister has concentrated on less priority issues despite receiving a 300 billion naira supplementary budget approval last year.
You are not here to come and tell us what's your revenue in the area of resources. So if you are telling us the reason why you have failed in fixing our road infrastructure is because of resources, don't let me take you up there. Because you concentrated your energy as a minister on less priority issues. Don't discuss resources. I say it again. With all the road that we have across the country are failed. If you are addressing these roads, existing roads, with the resources that you have, sir, honorable minister, we will not be where we are. Don't discuss resources. I say it again. You came here last year, you got 300 billion budget approval, supplementary approval. Don't raise my emotion. I am worried that you are not concerned about fixing Nigerian roads. We are not here for business of whether you want to do the job or you don't want to do the job. Stop telling us you are awarding road. We don't want you to be awarding road that you are not ready to do. How can you be telling us that there is no resources? In less than 1 minute, from everything that everybody has said, it's a clue. You have no plan for us as a nation. I was wondering what was used as benchmark for your appraisal.
Well, joining us now is investment and enterprise risk expert and a public affairs analyst, Dr. Oshinowo Ibrahim. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, Dr. Oshinowo.
Thank you for having me, sir. Good morning, my dear sister.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Probably should just kickstart with the your views on the criticism by Representative Remi Oseni at David Umahi. He claims that the minister is focusing on less priority projects, and that's the reason he's not been able to complete, at least go far enough in road projects since the start of this administration.
Okay. Good morning, Nigerian, and it's nice to be here again. I think Right Honorable Remi Oseni is in order. The Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended as, separates and distinguish the powers of the legislature and the executive. Right now, the country is in deficit of, almost 457 kilometers of roads across the country. And what Honorable Remi Oseni, my distinguished friend from Ibarapa, Okeogun, has said is in order. He's a Nigerian before he becomes, the member of House of Reps. So he is a member of APC, and His Excellency Senator David Umahi also is a member of APC. So if he is getting a feedback from his people, and as a member of the committee, I can tell you that he's speaking the minds of his colleagues and the House in general for him to be able to, to express such a very radical view. It means that, he's speaking at least the voice of the majority of the committee member and the House leadership. Yes, His Excellency David Umahi is a senior man. He has done well for a state where he was, in Ebonyi. I got to Ebonyi when he was during the second time. I was amazed. I was lost in Abakaliki. The quality of job he has done there, and I think those resumes are the yardstick why the president decided to, give him such a very crucial ministry to the national interest of, our country. However, in most of the projects he's doing, these are laudable, these are fantastic projects, but the honorable minister needs to look inward. He needs to look deep. The representative of our people are the guys speaking there. They go back to their constituencies across the country, and most of them were even have some level of comfort by driving to their various constituencies and see roads badly, abandoned projects, not motorable. People are complaining. People are dying. I believe the president needs to, probably separate the ministry and see what FEMA is doing as well.
Right.
FEMA has not been working. So the minister needs to look inward. Yes, I know we have limited resources. Yes, 300 billion is a lot. It's absolutely a lot, but we can do better. Honorable Emil Sene is in order, and I believe the minister too is, trying his best. As far as I know David Umahi is having a sleepless night in, ensuring that most of these major road construction across the zones, 6 Nigerian zones are tidy up. And I will encourage him to look inward, to do more, to do far, far more. He needs to wake up FEMA. What are they doing?
Okay.
He needs to wake up all the other hands of Federal Ministry of Works and himself. Nigerians are dying on the road. He needs to do more. The vacation season for this government is over. The honeymoon is over.
That's
so we need to be aware. Yes, please.
All right. You've just said that that the minister is most likely having sleepless nights because of the state of the roads, and some would very, very much disagree with you. In that clip that we just played, the end of the clip, you could hear Mr. Oseni say, "I don't know what the yardstick for your appraisal was." And very recently, we are all witnesses to the president's cabinet reshuffling, where there was some hiring and firing. And the reactions from Nigerians, a number of Nigerians had said that there were certain ministers whose names ought to have been on the list of fired ministers, and their names didn't make it there. Do you think, from all indications, that maybe the Minister of Works should have either been fired or reassigned to a different portfolio?
Yeah, with due respect to my friend, Remi Oseni, those are sensational words. Those are words for the media to capture. David Umahi is an experienced, civil engineer. I've known David Umahi since he was living in Port Harcourt at the time, and I was working within that axis. So I've known him before he became, the state chairman of PDP, before even the deputy governor. So if you look at his trajectory in terms of, implementing quality projects, David Umahi is one of the best in this country. I can tell you that. So those words that, look at the 300 billion that was approved for him. He is able to outline what he has done. And don't forget that if you are working under a government, he's not a governor anymore, he's a minister. He's going to work with the priority and the agenda of the party he's working for. So most of the roles, most of the pressing issue for Mr. President is what he's attending to. I'm not a spokesperson, I'm not defending him, I'm not speaking for him, but based as an insider, I know what's going on. Most of the money being approved for him is tagged on a specific project. However, I'm not saying that it should not look inward to certain roads, like East West Road, like linking access for people coming from here to Ijebu-Ode. Coming from Ijebu-Ode to Ikorodu, the road is in a bad shape. We can count. And he has been trying his best. And I'm telling you, after this show, I'm going to reach out to him and say, His Excellency, you need to do better. Remi is in order. He's speaking his mind. But to say that the ministers needs to be sacked, these are, sensational. He's just being personal about it. He knows that what David Umahi says, what David Umahi is doing there is a yeoman's job. He's doing a fantastic job. He's not all this minister of works that will talk stories, that speak big grammar, at the end of the day, nothing to show for him. Go and look at most of his projects, he's doing. He has been, implementing at a static, quality job and a tremendous space. So these are the things that Remi needs to do. Remi can carry out a few oversights. Yes, I agree with him. He can go. Don't forget that the minister is the former senator as well. He has experience, he has background in legislature, he has executive experience as well. So Remi can go on a tour. I understand where Remi is coming from. He's a great guy, but he needs to be patient with the minister, and let's see how we can work together to ensure that those blue spots where Nigeria needs attention in terms of infrastructure, we need to look, the minister will look into it. We agree, everybody agree that there's an infrastructural deficit in this country. You understand? Right. So Remi can join hands with the minister, and let's see all those blue spots, why carrying out the oversight. And I can assure you, The minister will do the needful. He's a patron. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's a quality guy. So I believe the minister will do well and do a great job for this country.
Well, I mean, they only have 4 years, so whatever he has to do, he has a 4-year time frame to ensure that those, roads are completed. And, just to be clear, the Ministry of Works received 1 trillion naira. The 300 billion we're talking about, I believe, is a supplementary budget, that was approved, on top of about 700 billion naira that was initially approved for him. So he's received about 1 trillion naira for these road projects. Are there any specific projects that you can point to that, the minister should be given kudos for, across the country that, he should be applauded for being able to complete in the time frame that we're speaking of now?
Wow. Now, let me say this before I highlighted few, fantastic projects he has embarked on. Let me tell you, Nigeria has been suffering from infrastructural deficit since 1999. Even during the military, most of our infrastructure that you are seeing today, the list of them is over 30 years that we are seeing today. We are just commencing, building new roads, working on old ones to revive them to meet the population index that we are right now. Yes, 1 trillion is a lot of money, but with the exchange rate, 1 trillion, the Ministry of Works at least should share nothing less than 40% of the national budget. If, the way you want us to, if there is a room for that, it needs a lot of money. It needs a lot of private investment in infrastructural concession. It needs to do all these things. Those are the things that it needs to look inward. The budget of this country is not enough to meet the infrastructural need at the moment. And if you have more time, I will highlight down. Look at what is doing in Badagry, linking to Sokoto. Those two projects are started. Look at what it's doing from East-West Road in River State. The project has been awarded and commenced. Look at what it's doing in Edo State, linking Ugeli in Delta State. The road is, the contractors are working. Even in Lagos, look at what he has done. A few linking, Tomeland Bridge is almost collapsing. We have a minister in this country that is speaking big grammar on Tomeland Bridge. He could not fix it for almost 8 years. But we have a guy that resumed less than 2 years in office. He has fixed most of the roads, federal road bridges in this country, including Lagos, including Kano, Kaduna, Link Bridge to Jigawa State. Those are the roads. And if I come next, I'm going to give you the list of roads that David Umahi has embarked on.
Yeah.
That he has done.
To be clear, what was the first one you mentioned?
Limited resources for him to work with. He's still striving and still doing best. Though I understand that it's a four-year tenure, but this is just the second year. You are just a little after 1 year. So I will employ Nigerians to please be patient with the government.
I just wanted to be clear. What was the very first road you mentioned, the Badagry one? What road is that?
We are linking from Badagry, from Badagry to Sokoto. We are starting a road from Badagry now, linking, going through the beach line, the coastal line, linking that. And you can see that I commissioned one recently.
That road, has that project been awarded? Has it started?
Oh, of course. Even the one in Sokoto, I'm sure you are aware that he kicked off a road in Sokoto recently. And I can't remember, most of the spots in the north central.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem, Sashinawa. According to news reports, the East-West Road that you spoke about, is still in a very deplorable state. The Calabar-Itu Federal Highway, East-West Road, which runs across the entire South-South region from Edo to Bayelsa to Rivers, is still in a pretty, deplorable situation. In the southeast, the Deator or Lu Road is pretty much still the same thing. In Abia State, Umahia Owerri to Ohafia is still in pretty much the same deplorable state. One point in this out is these are road projects that have been in deplorable state for a long time. But what we found is, and of course, this is a legitimate criticism of the current administration, that we instead awarded 15 trillion naira to the Lagos-Calabar Road project when we've had these other roads that have been pending and begging for attention for a long time? If you look at the news reports in the last couple of weeks, there's a report that said that 50% of farm produce doesn't make it to the market from the farm. You know, a lot of it gets ruined or lost between transit from farm to market. And one of those reasons is because of bad roads and poor storage. We've also seen I saw a report a couple of days ago showing the number of people who die from road traffic accidents because of bad roads as well. And so wouldn't it be a legitimate criticism that instead of building Sokoto to Badagry or Badagry to Sokoto, instead of building Lagos to Calabar, we should have concentrated on these other important roads that have been begging for attention for a long time?
Quickly, let me quickly say this. Let me give you very good and robust analysis. And I think we need an hour to discuss this so that we will have a comprehensive details of roads awarded to each contractors and what they are doing right now. Number one, let me first of all clear you on the rural community roads. You media needs to look into what the governors are doing. The governors, their duty is to expand and open the rural communities. That's why Mr. President is giving autonomous financial autonomy to local government so that local government can open all these rural areas you are talking about. David Umar is not going to come down to my hometown in Lugbe to open the rural road where I have a local government chairman that ought to have done that, or the state government that ought to have done that. I will employ you guys to look more inward into what the state governments are doing. How many kilometers of road is this governor is doing? How many kilometers of road is this local government chairman is doing? That's why the president is working extensively hard to ensure that the local government have their financial autonomy, so that all these complaints that observations from media, not complaint really, will be addressed by the local authority, including the state government. The state governors are just living, enjoying themselves because the media is not on their toe to ensure that they do what they ought to have done, to ensure that what they campaign on, the mandate given to them is justified. Now, let's go back to what Senator David Umar is doing. Those roads that you are talking about, there is what they call soil test. Most of the roads in South regional area are majorly not going to be, there's a design that is going to be, some of them are going to be concrete, some of them have asphalt laid, sometimes fail, maybe between 10 years. But this gentleman, the Senator Umar, came and gave us another plan, a robust plan, so that when we address all these roads, when we start doing them, you will ensure that most of them are concrete because of the soil texture of that region. If you go to Southeast, the major issue about Southeast is erosion. And I'm sure you know that. I have been in charge of environment of a state government, and I've traveled across Southeast. I know what's how hard to do roads. And most of these projects we are talking about have been awarded, and they are going to be, done in phases. I don't want media to just go to a blue spot or a dark spot and take the picture of that one and bring it out to the public. Maybe you should do an investigative journalism and see, okay, this section and section has been done. We are moving to this section and this section tomorrow. So those are the things that, we need to look inward. It's not going to, 4 years enough. It's not enough for David Umar to do all the roads in Nigeria.
Okay.
I'm sure you know that. 4 years is not enough for him. But let's go in depth. What are the governors? What are they doing? For instance, the governors, Edo State, what is he doing? How many kilometers of road has he done? The governor of Enugu State, my grandbrother, is doing very well. They should open all these roads. It's not David Umar that will come to a village in Udemili South, in Anambra State, that will open the farm road. That's a function of the local government. So we have enough time. I would love to have maybe a section for us to discuss, and I will give you the details of the roads he has awarded and the stages at which this project has been moving in a very fast and erotic speed.
No one is arguing. So, we need to wrap up. I don't think anyone is arguing about.
David Umar is a performer, honestly speaking. I'm not speaking for him, but he's a great guy.
Well,
and he's doing
everyone has
so
their own
well
perspective
in terms of ensuring that Nigerians are comfortable, and reduce
Dr. Oshino.
the accident on our highway. Yes.
All right, we'll have to unfortunately wrap up the conversation at this time, but thank you for your time with us. I'm sure that we certainly will have more conversations regarding this subject matter, especially looking at the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway that is still a subject of litigation and several controversies. There have been allegations of corruption by officials of the Federal Ministry of Works, but that's another conversation to look into at a later date. Dr. Oshinowo Ibrahim, thank you very much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you, Bob. Also, I'm coming to the studio. We have to discuss this further, please.
We would love that.
It would be nice to meet you.
We'd really love that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to a very quick break now, and when we come back, we have more conversations this morning.
Away from conversations on Nigeria's road infrastructure, let's go into politics now. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, is witnessing renewed tensions between the camps of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, former governor of Rivers State. The two factions are re-strategizing ahead of the rescheduled National Executive Committee meeting scheduled for the 28th of November. The NEC meeting's postponement benefits, reportedly, the Wike camp, which allows the acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, to remain in office. However, the Vanguard newspapers reports that the Atiku camp is seeking to replace Damagum with a candidate from North Central following Dr. Yocha Ayu's resignation.
A federal high court in Abuja has restrained the NEC and Board of Trustees from removing Damagum, prompting the Atiku camp to assemble a team of lawyers to appeal the decision. The North Central Zone is adamant about producing Ayu's replacement. Joining us this morning is Demola Olarinwaju, the Special Assistant in Digital Media and Strategy to His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Asaroje. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning.
All right, let's get into it. What is going on regarding, the removal or the replacement, I would say, of Yocha Ayu ever since, that office was quote-unquote vacant? What is exactly happening?
I mean, that's the problem that, a lot of PDP members have with what is going on. The constitution of the party is very clear that when the national chairman, which is usually zoned, if that chairman is removed, then that chairman's zone also has the privilege of appointing his replacement. In this situation, that has not happened, and party members are eager to see that happen. For me and for many of us who are PDP members, it's not a matter of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar versus Nyesom Wike. I think, there are definitely two tendencies within the PDP. One is the people-led movement that is in alignment with what the majority of Nigerians want, that the People's Democratic Party should rise up to its role as the largest opposition party in Nigeria. And any hindrance to that, is a problem. It is, a fact, an open fact, that His Excellency Atiku Abubakar is on that side, is on the side of PDP becoming a viable opposition. However, within the party, you have people who also believe that, the PDP should simply become an appendage of the All Progressive Congress. One of them is the person you just mentioned, Nyesom Wike, who is a former governor on the PDP platform, a former presidential aspirant on the platform, a former local government chairman, a former minister on the platform, now holding office within the APC administration. That is clearly a contradiction. So it's not just about the personalities involved, it is the ideals involved. Should PDP be an opposition party, or should it be an appendage of the APC? So in that context, it's not just about Atiku camp or Wike camp. It's not about those camps at all. And when the time for politics comes, everyone knows that Atiku Abubakar knows how to play his politics within the PDP. However, the issue presently is one that PDP members are grappling with, which is, should PDP be an opposition party in line with the wishes and aspirations of Nigerians and its members, or should it be an appendage of the APC? I think that's where the problem is presently, Olive.
Well, I mean, we'll probably come back to the conversation on its job so far as an opposition party. But as it stands, let's focus on the current, crisis. Will Atiku Abubakar still want to replace or want to see a replacement of Umar Damagum, or is it okay that he stays further? And is Nyesom Wike the one fully behind imposing, in quote, Umar Damagum on the PDP?
Saroje, I think, the Atiku Abubakar is on the side of constitutionality, okay? And the constitution of the PDP is very clear. What party members themselves are saying, and it's not about what Atiku wants or what any governor or anyone wants. PDP is a party of rule of law. It's a party that is bound by the constitution, and the constitution of the PDP is very clear. In fact, the North Central Zone has been at the forefront of the agitation, saying that, look, we simply have to complete the tenure of Senator Iyorchia Ayu. Aliyu Damagum is there, Ambassador Iya Aliyu Damagum is there as an acting chairman. He has been acting for over a year now. At some point, he would have to vacate that office as soon as the North Central Zone is ready. So it's simply a matter of constitutionality. The NEC meeting where his replacement should be approved, which is the second highest decision-making organ of the body, in the absence of the National Convention, where the former national chairman was chosen. The NEC meeting was supposed to hold. Stakeholders have waded in and said, let's hold on, let's have the Ondo State election first of all, and after that election there will be a convening of a meeting where that position will be upheld and will be ratified. I think before then that court order will be vacated. Like I said, it's basically a matter of two strings of thoughts. Those who want PDP to become the opposition, led by Atiku Abubakar, who firmly believes that the role of PDP as an opposition should be upheld. That has not been able to happen so far.
I mean, sorry, Demola. Apologies,
yes,
but those who want the PDP to become opposition, those who do not want it, is it these persons that have stopped the PDP from being opposition in the last couple of years?
Of course, I mean, you cannot have a party, a political party, functioning as an opposition party when a high-profile member like Governor Nyesom Wike, former Governor Nyesom Wike, is, serving in the administration of the PDP. There must be discipline within the party ranks. You cannot have someone, for example, you cannot have, I was invited to come here for a new Central TV program. I can't get here. I know, Saruji and Olive as employees of the New Central. I can't get here and then, we are discussing another television station. That doesn't make sense. That's going to cause problems for the organization you presently belong to. So that is what is going on presently. There are people within the party who believe that the PDP should be held down for the APC to have its free way. And that's what the party has been grappling for over 1 year.
Yeah, but I mean, but here's the problem. Even prior to the Nyesom Wike factor, do you believe that the PDP held itself strongly as an opposition party in Nigeria?
Now, so this is where we have to remember what happened. The PDP itself functioned as the highest point for Nigerians to rally against the victory of APC in 2023. And that is the major task of a political party. If you are talking about opposition in a society, you are talking about the role of the media, the role of civil society, and then, of course, the political party as the pinpoint or the arrowhead. PDP did that. PDP mobilized heavily against the APC, against their victory. And that is the work of the opposition as regards a political party, to be that political force, to be that electoral vehicle. Again, PDP still remains that.
By simply just being...
we have...
Sorry, I apologize, because what you seem to be describing is just its presence. It's the idea of PDP as an opposition party that people can actually lean towards as an opposition party. Is the PDP you are speaking about now, has it been able to give that to the Nigerian people beyond simply just having the nationwide structure that it has? It's widespread across the country. Because that seems to be what the PDP is leaning towards. That, well, we're the ones who have the structure. We're the ones who have the numbers. We're the ones that are spread across the country.
You cannot find any bigger political force in this country who has been...
And that's the point that I'm making. That's the point that I'm making. That what the PDP continues to claim or lean towards as its opposition right is simply because we're the biggest. We're spread across the country. But
and that's what it should be. That's what it should be. Because look, when we talk about opposition in a society, we are talking about the role of the media. We are talking about the role of investigative journalists putting pressure on the government. We are talking about the role of CSOs. We just had an election in Edo State where, the PDP was rigged out in that election. PDP will definitely say it was rigged out. Nigerians are used to politicians saying that they are rigged out whenever they lose any election. However, you must have the independent parties, which are the media and the civil society, standing up to play their role, highlighting those issues. So where PDP comes in, or where any political party comes in, is as the arrowhead of that electoral force, which PDP has always been. The problem that PDP has had over the past 1 year has been this idea where some members of the party, high-profile members, feel that that PDP should be an appendage of the APC. Of course, these people will not be happy if PDP criticizes Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president.
Who are these people you speak about?
If PDP is pointing out those lapses. So that is where the problem has been. And it is that internal contradiction that should be reversed. That's
who are these people?
And that's what needs to be worked on. It's just, coincidental that, it's just incidental rather, that Atiku Abubakar falls on the side of those that believe that PDP should be allowed to emerge as a true opposition force, while the likes of Nyesom Wike, they fall under the ideals of those who believe that the PDP should become, a mere lapdog or an appendage to the APC. And their position is very unfortunate because the Constitution gives them freedom to become members of the APC. You can leave PDP, it's not a cult. If you don't want to be part of the opposition, then move ahead and join the APC. But what they are doing instead, they want to remain within the party and cause chaos within the party and leaving the rest of us, to grapple with those problems.
And is this not enough?
Where the problem is
this not enough grounds? Again, this is a question we've asked for the obtained time. Is this not enough grounds for the PDP to maybe discipline those who it deems as members who are causing chaos within the party and still seeking to make the party an appendage to another party?
I think for me, the biggest indictment of the NWC, as led by Ambassador Ilya Damago, is that if you ask Nyesom Wike at any point in time, he will say that he got the permission of the PDP chairman, acting chairman, to be a minister under the APC. Such an idea, it defeats the entire issue of party loyalty. It defeats, ideological politics. It defeats every sane standard in politics that we've ever known.
But did he get the approval though?
Sorry?
But did he get the approval?
Nobody knows. Damagum has not come out to deny that. He hasn't come out to deny it. Wike has said it several times. He said that he got the approval of Umaru Damagum. And for me, as a party member, not speaking for anyone now, as a party member, that is a breach of political trust. You cannot be a member of a party and then you are writing to the chairman, for approval to go and serve in the party that you are supposed to be opposing. Of course, that is mind-boggling to anyone. So I think it's an indictment. And that's why, many of us as members strongly feel that there should be discipline within the ranks of the party. So if anyone wants to join the APC, if that person is free to join the APC, but there's no point claiming to be a PDP member, but still vowing and publicly saying that you are going to work for the re-election of the APC government, which all Nigerians are complaining about. I think, that is a huge internal contradiction that must be resolved in the coming weeks.
If all you've mentioned about it being an indictment on the part of the NWC, of the majority of the members of the People's Democratic Party, seeing that there is need for some discipline within the party, if this is the mindset of the majority, until date, nothing has been done to, quote unquote, to discipline the said person or party, or the said persons that are, causing this indictment on the party, is it then safe to say that Nyesom Wike is now bigger than the party?
Well, I don't believe that anyone is bigger than the party. The challenge we have here is that the person who is willing to destroy has less to lose than the person who is willing to defend. All right? Many of us are not interested in seeing PDP dying. These other guys don't care if PDP dies. If PDP dies, then, they have the advantage, okay? They are willing to keep PDP tied up in courts. They are willing to keep PDP, factionalized. It will play into their hands. So what the party is doing is that the party is managing the situation with every political tool at its disposal. The party has set up reconciliation committees. The party has set up disciplinary committees. Again, these are the challenges that we have. Now, there are three organs within the party that are considered very strong. The first is the National Convention, which is the highest decision-making organ of the party, where all members are allowed to come in, or delegates are allowed to come in and make decisions for the party. That's the highest organ. The second highest organ is the NEC, which NEC meeting has been postponed several times. We are looking forward to it again in November. So that's where decisions will be taken, and we believe that a way forward will be formed. Clearly, the third decision-making organ, which is the NWC, has failed in the responsibility of instilling discipline within the ranks of the party, and now we have to go to the NEC. If the NEC is not able to resolve it, we might have to resort to convention. But I do not, believe that anyone is bigger than the political party. I think that, it is simply a display of rascality, a display of nuisance value, if you want, basically for anyone to come out and be actively working against the party and believe that it cannot be disciplined. At a certain point, there will definitely be resolution to the issues, and PDP will.
Is your current, acting national chairman, Umada Magom, one of those that you think is working to stifle the PDP for the APC's growth?
Well, to be fair, I've not had that conversation with him, and I do not have the evidence against that. What I think instead is that Ambassador Damagum has not instilled the kind of discipline that one would have expected. For me as a person, for me as a PDP member, I would expect that discipline will be instilled, number one. Number two is the one I mentioned earlier on, that he has not come out to debunk or deny or confirm what Nyesom Wike has repeatedly said, that he wrote and he got an approval from acting chairman Umar Damagum to serve in the Bola Tinubu administration. If he comes out and says that is false, then we know on what side he stands. If he comes out and says, oh yes, that is true, then Nigerians will also know where he stands, and I believe that the PDP will react appropriately. So have not had any conversation with him or have any evidence that he is perhaps working with the APC, but I think that number one, he has failed in terms of discipline within the ranks of the party, and number two, he has not come out to confirm or deny the allegation that Nyesom Wike frequently makes. All right,
Demal Larawanju. These conversations will almost never end, and I hope that you can join us again so we can expand further. I would definitely have loved to ask about, the other big wigs in the party, the former President Goodluck Jonathan, Bukola Saraki, former Senate President, and many others, and what political relevance they still have in the party as of today. But we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. We wish you and, of course, the PDP the best in these trying times. We'll love to speak with you again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Asaruje. Thank you very much, Olive.
Thank you very much. All right. Now let's share with you a recap of the conversations we've had this morning and then what's coming up next.
Now it's time to find out what major stories are making headlines across Nigeria this Monday morning. And joining us is public affairs analyst Jason Okwade. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning and happy new week.
Good morning. Welcome to the end of the month.
Oh, yeah. You remind us for, it's salary week.
Are you paying or are you receiving?
Paying.
Please don't pay into... Okay, let me not say that.
Let's quickly get into the news this morning. We're kicking off with the Punch newspapers. Let's see what major stories that we can find over there. It says that, again, varsities face lockdown as workers begin strike today. It says, of course, the non-teaching staff shut university offices, gates, ministries, mom as minister quits on Wednesday. You can also find the NSCDC arrest illegal Chinese miners in Nasarawa. Helicopter crash. Family demands body of missing NNPCL worker. That's a very sad story that we've been following. Also on the Punch newspapers this morning, EFCC to track funds as local government autonomy begins November. Army begins enlisting ex-soldiers to bridge manpower shortfall. And we can also find on the Punch this morning, just a few others. Lagos probes engineer's death at construction site. CNG, Dangote invests $280 million in conversion and others. Those are the big stories on the Punch newspapers this morning.
All right, the Daily Independent newspaper, Daily Trust, on the front page of Daily Trust. Hardship bites hard as North enters 8th day without electricity. Services grounded in hospitals and labs. Residents frozen food and dealers count losses. Vandals on the prowl, destroying transformers. Efforts to restore power ongoing, according to TCN. And if you've been following the story, there's some people that have actually claimed that it's a deliberate intent to sabotage, the growth in the northern region. There's a lot of
What about the one in Lekki?
I wanted to say that we haven't had power.
What are they sabotaging?
I don't know what they are sabotaging for us as well. So when I saw that, I was a bit taken aback.
We haven't had electricity since Wednesday.
No, we haven't. No.
I'm saying in the whole of Lekki, there's not been electricity since Wednesday. So it's getting this is the 5th day or 6th day now?
So I mean, if there's anybody that is sabotaging you, we should probably direct it to the government. Anyway, 7 die in Abuja building collapse. How one chance syndicate killed female legislative aide. That's sad. Dangote backs Tinubu CNG drive, invest over $280 million in trucks and infrastructure, high cost, low sales at petrol stations, and citizens abandon vehicles. Fuel price up by 600% in 2 years. Increased energy costs threat to economic growth, according to experts. Let's start with that story. Low sales at petrol stations, at citizens abandon vehicles. Earlier, we had seen the reports that the oil marketers, that about 10,000 of them will shut business within the next 45 days if something miraculous doesn't happen. They had asked the presidency for grants sometime in October because they needed to keep their business afloat. Now we're seeing a number of people. Mr. Okwade, even you getting here, I know you have not yet gotten to the level of jumping bus, but there are people that can't even afford to fill their cars. When you go to the filling station is when you have a reality. It's like a reality check where people are saying, put 5,000 naira fuel for me. How much is 5,000 naira fuel? 5 liters.
5 liters.
10,000 naira fuel. So, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on what the hope is. Fuel price up by 600% in 2 years.
No, yeah, that's just the statistics since this administration came on board. And the reality is a lot of people have dropped their vehicle. Practically, you hear a lot of people telling you it's more economical for you to join public bus. You dare not even go to this alien company where they provide logistics for you. That's actually on the other side now. I have a bite of it when I was in Abuja 2 weeks ago. You see, while we were talking the other time that we need to face reality about this issue of energy cost, it was as if a lot of us don't really love Mr. President, or we don't like his policy. You see, energy contributes more than 60% of the survival of an organization and even individual. Come to think about it, the story you read on the Daily Trust about non-availability of supply in the north in the last 8 days. And I was just looking at Osak, his reaction to like the last 5 days. I was like, oh, lucky. So the rich also cry. I was thinking that's an area that you should just jettison power, national grid. You guys are big men, you can afford alternative power supply. But that was on a relaxed mood. You can imagine the impact of this on businesses. You are talking of buying fuel at the filling station to put in your car. Oliver, I don't want to share my experience yesterday. I think my car was on half tank, and I was asking the lady, okay, just sell this amount of fuel. I was expecting the thing to do that is filled up. And the thing was not.
It wasn't crying.
There was no cry. I said, but are you sure that your meter is accurate? He said, yes, sir. I was okay, I will confirm. I said, okay, let me just get this 5 liter in this keg and just confirm. Lo and behold, the 5 liters was fine. Wow. So I feel like with this amount that I've paid to actually put fuel in the vehicle, and it's still not just getting anywhere, what is the hope of a common man who just earned the so-called 70,000 and who before now has one small vehicle that he uses for himself and the family? In fact, you see, it has impacted a lot of things. Go to several churches now, people prefer to join online. Nobody wants to drive. You don't even drive anywhere that would not, you put the cost, everybody is now an accountant. Cost benefit analysis. This place that I'm going, what is the benefit I'm going to gain, either monetarily or that will impact on it? And it's high time the government look critically into this. We've seen instances where we've heard from the presidency, you can avoid petroleum and go to CNG. But I have this to say, I saw it while I was in Abuja, long queue of truck at CNG terminal station where they are selling. That's one. The cost of conversion, it's not something that it's easy to come by. from an average person. Ireland is about 300, 350,000. How can you just put that? And you and I understand the fact that the expertise on some of these things we call CNG is not just out there in the public. When you now have the rush, every human being wants to go into it, and that's why you start having havoc, just like what we experienced in Edo State with that gas tank. So I feel government needs to go back to drawing board. If we need to go back to subsidy, at least to avert this problem. A lot of things we've been hearing is that we've been subsidizing for the neighboring country. Can we enforce and empower the security agency and charge them to make sure that what is generated is utilized locally and we can benefit from it? And on the final note, let's look for a way to resuscitate our refinery. It's what we've been clamoring for. We should not just hold on only on Dangote as the survivor means for every of
Let's hold on and come back to that thought. We have Elder David on the line. Good morning. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma.
Good morning.
Good morning.
David from Animashaw. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma.
Good morning, Elder David. Please turn down the volume of your TV set and go on.
Yes. What you say is correct. My own meter expired. I got 2014. Are you okay, ma?
Yes, please.
My own that is meter expired since 2023, and it was removed by NEPA. That is the disco. And when it was removed, and it took me on direct light, I asked them, is it my own problem? They said, no, I recharged, it didn't go. That was why they removed it. Do you know since that time, they have been charging me from my mouth, and when I pay that money, and on the background, they say I'm owing certain amount, which I never owe. So what I might say is correct. The disco are actually creating more problems for Nigerians. Let this present government, which have come in to correct most of those things, step in, because the common man are suffering. The life is improving now without this government. Because what they are doing now, the bigger one they have already increased now, it's almost about 4,000 to 5,000 plus. It's only because of the election we are not having contact life.
Okay, Elder David, and where...
Government, they God bless this government because I still believe in them. They correct it before December. By this time, let's say everybody be very grateful. But let us, I want those in that disco to be very careful of making Nigerians, because God will forgive them for what they are doing. That is my prayer. I'm a victim, that's what I'm saying. Why are they giving 20 billion for what put us not to? They God bless us, they God bless India, and bless Nigeria.
All right, thank you for calling. I think another story we should move into is the story on the Punch this morning. Says EFCC to track funds as local government autonomy begins November. Even if, there's been some back and forth with some state governments still trying to appeal, the directive on the local government allocation.
I ask myself the question, why the appeal? What are you appealing for? Money that is not yours. It's just like federal government, taking over funds that is meant to be disbursed to the states. And you start begging, the federal government is begging the state that, sorry, the allocation meant for you will not be able to give it to you. I feel Mr. President is trying to do what we've been expecting in time past, to make sure that at least everybody, those at the grassroots, have a feel of what governance is not about. I have my worries, I must be candid, because the EFCC that is coming out to say they are tracking, how much of state funds have they tracked? How much of the funds in terms of the agencies have they been able to track? How many people have they been able to bring to justice misappropriating and misdirecting our funds? We only hear the story. It's always good. The starting point is always fine. The end of the story, you don't know anything about it. So I'm so much worried and of great concern by the time these funds will be disbursed to the local government, how we are able to track, how we are able to monitor the activities. And that's why, for me, I think once this starts, is a wake-up call to every citizen at the grassroots level to monitor it. Let the federal government come out to, the same way they talked about the FAC allocation, what goes to each local government. Then we should start asking questions. It's high time the citizen on their own come out to ask for accountability from the grassroots. If we cannot challenge the state, can we start with the local government when this starts, this disbursement start? Because a lot of things that we have seen in time past is that individuals come, have access to the fund, misappropriate it, all in the name that nothing will happen, and they will go scot-free. And the citizens that are meant to benefit those things will just be lying, pity in the hands of some of these people.
Do you believe that it will, if we have this change, do you believe that it will bring significant development to local governments across Nigeria?
If it's properly monitored, it will definitely do. Because you are given funds, certain things that is expected of the local government. There are things that are very close to you. You make drainages. A lot of people are faced with these challenges of not having good drainages around them. Even the roads within the street are responsibility of the local government. You discover a lot of street naming, revenue are generated. You are supposed to give back to the people where you are. So you discover that it's not only the allocation that should be tracked. We should have an EFCC that even monitors how IGR are being expended. A lot of funds are being generated by the local government, by the state. But most of the things we discover is that they are not effectively managed and nobody asks questions. Even as citizens, when you ask questions, it's a matter of what is your issue. You see individuals even challenging you, why not leave these people? Even the little they've given to us is enough. So we need more from the anti-graft agency in making sure, where is ICPC? Is EFCC that way? Very soon somebody will be telling you it is not the responsibility of EFCC, but more of ICPC, who are saddled with the responsibility in making sure that things are available, things are questioned on the part of the public service. I think we need to introduce more in the area of monitoring of the activities. A lot of abandoned projects that are meant for the beneficiary of the citizen, and nobody is asking questions. You start it and you don't end it. And another administration will come and consider that as a starting point of where it needs to do, or even abandon it and start another project. These are areas that we must start monitoring if indeed we want the citizen to benefit from some of the things that we have currently.
All right. And again, the big story on the Punch newspaper, we're seeing here, universities face lockdown as workers begin strike today. Again, it seems like we're going around in circles.
You see, it's quite disturbing when you hear these kind of stories where, and I ask myself, our politicians, what is the hope of the future? They say we are the future leaders of tomorrow. Up till now, a lot of people are still struggling on how to make ends meet. By the time you shut down the school, the teachers are back on strike. You can imagine the enormosity of the problem that parents will be faced with. A lot of children will go back home. With this hard economy, you now have to take care of them at home. The cost of transporting them home and taking them back because of the scarcity, because of the strike, is something that's why you discover that private schools seems to be growing at the detriment of what the public schools are actually faced with. I tell every individual, not only in the tertiary institution, even at the secondary school level, a lot of us today are able to speak one or two grammars because our founding fathers, the late Jakonde, while he was governor of Lagos, he was able to make available free education with good, atmosphere to learn. But what are we having today? A lot of the public schools, whether the secondary or tertiary institution, are not, accommodating for students to learn. And all the time you hear of this incessant, strikes up and down that elongate the period at which you have to stay in school. So if you cannot afford to send your children to private school, I can tell you, if this starts today now, it might take, you remember that the time the students were at home for over a year.
Yeah.
If this is starting, it's only the beginning we know. If the federal government refuses to attend to them and those ones to decide to go on the hard side of it, the kids will be out. So there is no job out there for them to do. This is not like the developed world where you say, okay, when the strike is on, we have other side of things that we can do. Nothing of such. Because even those that are graduated, do they have any work to do? The answer is no.
Kindly hold on. Let's take this call. We need to go on a break. Good morning, Comrade Blessing. Oh, we lost him. If you could just wrap up your thoughts on that one so we can go on a quick break.
Yeah, so I want to say that this is not like the developed world where you can even have access to, a part-time job while these lecturers will be on strike or things are happening. Those that have graduated for years are still struggling to get jobs because no organization is out there to recruit anyone because they are even struggling to survive. We've said it times to that number. Can you look for a way to strengthen the SMEs? So when there is no power supply, how do you expect a woman that is selling frozen food that has engaged 1 or 2 staff to assist him or her with this collapse of electricity here and there, both in the north, in the south, everywhere, how do you expect him to meet up with his or her responsibility in paying salary? So the worst that will happen is, please, I have to relieve you of your duty. I think I will manage this myself because things are not just going the right way to go. So I think government need to be intentional on how we can strengthen the SMEs in such a way to make sure that this kind of strike, when it happens, they can have part-time jobs which they can do at least to fill in the gap, because when they are not occupied with anything, the next thing to do is to go into those ills that will definitely affect the growth of our economy.
All right, Sheson Kwade, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully, I don't know what the hopefully would be because...
Let the hopefully be hopeful.
Because it's not a good look and we don't know what the next steps are. We can only just hold on to hope and hope that the hope is actually renewed, because the hope that we had before is been dashed a number of times, and it feels like Nigerians feel like it's a continuous process of it being dashed. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you around. We're going on a very quick break, and when we return from the break, we have Which Way Nigeria?
The much-awaited cabinet reshuffle of President Bola Tinubu finally came. It had been mentioned, many weeks ago. And then, finally, on the 23rd of October, it came. 5 ministers from Mr. President's 45-man cabinet were sacked. Now, this came, of course, with mixed reactions. For some, it was a sigh of relief, and for others, it was mostly indifference. For some, even more criticism for the current administration. Now, most Nigerians are simply saying 5 down, at least 30 more to go. We fully understand that it is Mr. President's decision who he works with and who he believes will be able to help implement his developmental plans for the nation. But it's also important to be able to actually identify and have a clear picture what that developmental plan is. The ability to fully detail that plan would help guide Nigerians and Mr. President's cabinet even better. And so, taking a look at the affected ministries, I believe it's important to ask, what exactly is the current administration's agenda for women? And how can we identify growth in that ministry to justify sacking Mrs. Uju Kennedy Ohane? Does the current administration know the key issues affecting women in Nigeria today, and can you boldly speak on it? Before you say that a minister is non-performing, it's important that you are able to speak and identify what the trajectory of women should be in Nigeria today. What is the current administration's plan for education? And how can we all say that Professor Taher Mamman failed? Do you have a clear picture of what the current administration is hoping to achieve with education? What is our national goal with Nigeria's youth population? And how can we say that Jamila Bio Ibrahim failed? Because knowing these metrics and the current government's agenda or targets will help us understand and rate the new appointments that have been made. Again, what is the current government's goal for education, and how do we know that Dr. Murufo Alausa is going to be a performing minister? What is the current administration's goal with power, electricity, and how can we defend keeping the current Minister of Power, Adelabu, in office? It's important that not just the presidency or the government itself understands what its KPIs are, but that Nigerians themselves also know. And if you ask many Nigerians today, I don't think a lot of them would be able to say that the current administration has a plan for women. And so, Uju Kennedy failed because she wasn't, aligning with the government's plan for women. The goal of these ministers and the government in general should be a steady improvement of these sectors, not simply maintaining status quo. There should be a constant drive towards improving these sectors and improving on what we currently have within a 4-year time frame that the government has. They should be able to state clearly where we are, where we hope to be in 4 years, and then continue to work through policy implementation to achieve those objectives. But instead, what we seem to have is people just sitting there for 4 years and leaving without any significant improvement or progress. And also, if ministers are sacked for non-performance, can we get a clear picture as to why they didn't perform? Is it because of gross incompetence? Is it because of a lack of understanding of their job descriptions? Is it because of an inadequate budget to implement their policies? Is it because the other factors that are required to aid their efforts were not present? And if it is because of those factors, will all these blockages be cleared as new ministers are appointed to those positions? Will the reasons that Mrs. Uju Kennedy or Jamila Bio Ibrahim failed to perform also hinder the new people that are appointed to replace them? Will the new ministers encounter the same challenges that the previous ones had? These are important questions to ask, so that when we hear about a cabinet reshuffle and, whatever other term we want to call it, we don't interpret it as just another waste of time. We wish these new ministers the very best of luck, and a quick reminder that 2027 is fast approaching. Good morning, Nigerians.
Welcome back. The Nigerian economy loses an estimate of $26 billion yearly due to electricity shortage. In a recent Africa Trade Barometer report, Standard Bank identified electricity supply as a critical barrier to business operations, with businesses spending around $22 billion yearly on off-grid fuel to offset the impact of unreliable electricity. Now, this comes as Nigeria battles with persistent grid collapse, recording 108 collapses since the power sector's privatization. In the last 2 weeks, 17 of the 19 northern states in Nigeria have faced a blackout, leaving residents frustrated and desperate. The region, once a hub of commercial and industrial activities, now struggles to stay afloat amidst persistent power outage. Joining us this morning is lawyer and executive coordinator at NEPA Wahala NG, Emeka Ojoko. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I think we've seen power outage occurring in different parts of the country. It's disrupted production. It's compromised the quality of life. Everyone complains not just about the heat, but the fact that even those who run small and medium-scale businesses that are highly dependent on electricity have had to, suffer greatly as a result of it. But I want us to first of all address the concerns by the North and the bodies that have thought or have said that this is maybe an attempt to disrupt the region's growth.
Well, the reports coming out of regarding that outage is that it was caused by vandalism. That's a factor of force majeure. It's not within anybody's control. I would only urge the TCN and those involved to repair those destroyed equipment and get the power back up as quickly as possible, because it's not funny at all, right? Having to depend on backup power, generator power for this longer time. It's not funny at all.
All right.
I mean, but it's still really, really shocking. If we're talking about losing $26 billion to electricity or energy lack every year. This is greatly affecting businesses, but mostly also affecting the average Nigerian citizen. From your perspective, what continues to be the main struggle with the Nigerian electricity sector? We've had successive governments come in and out. They make the same promises, but we never go beyond 4,000 megawatts. We just seem to hang around the same level of electricity generation and transmission with successive administrations. So would you say it's a policy problem? Would you say it's a political will? Or would you just, say that we're just not ready to fix it?
It's a combination of the two factors that you talked about, right? The main problem that we have is the gap between installed generation capacity, actual generation capacity, and then what you're able to wheel out. As of today, we have about 13,000 megawatts of installed capacity, but we are only able to wheel out and utilize between 4,000 and 5,000 megawatts, right, when there are no disturbances in the grid. So the challenge here is that our transmission and distribution infrastructure is ancient. We're talking about facilities that have been in place since the 1970s without any significant upgrade. So if we are to pump out 15,000 megawatts at one time, the entire thing will collapse, right? The network cannot sustain it. So government needs to upgrade the distribution and transmission infrastructure so that more power can be wheeled out, right? Now, if we're able to evacuate that much power from generation companies, then they can now invest in significantly upgrading their own generation capacity so that more power can be generated. These things you are put in place by the GenCos to make money. And remember, right, because of the fact that the GenCos, before they went into business to put this facility in place, they have pay or take arrangements with the government. Pay or take means that if the government does not take the capacity, government must pay for it. So, right, for the past several years, since 2005, 2013, when the sector was fully privatized, government has been paying for the difference between the 4,000 or 5,000 megawatts that we have and the 13,000 megawatt capacity of the GenCos. Government must pay for it. That for the ones they're not able to export outside the country. So these are the dynamics of the sector. Now, for Nigerians, right, we've seen the increase in the tariff for band A customers, and people are screaming blue murder all over the country. But I can tell you, right, at 209, 208, whatever the cost is still far cheaper than alternative power supply if you have to go on generator. I had about 2-3 days of shortage outage in where I live, where there was a fault and the high tension cable didn't have power for like 3 days. And I know how much I spent over that 2 days. I spent over 100,000 naira on fuel for my house. So, and that's the amount that under band A I would spend probably in 2 weeks. So if you look at it, right, the issues are myriad and they are hydra-headed. Okay, we're talking about, the cost of power in Nigeria is too high for the band A. Right, and the discos and the industry players are telling us that even that cost is still too low. It's not up to the cost of producing this power. So government now has to fill that gap by way of subsidies that the federal government cannot afford. Now we're talking about divesting control of the power markets in certain states. Enugu state has shown the lead. They've taken over their own power market. But can that state afford to carry the subsidy between what the government, what the people actually take, and what the distribution company or generation company actually supplies? Can they continue on the pay or take regime? They cannot. They cannot without their own state finances running into trouble. So, as you said, it's a policy issue. The government, the federal government is, we're trying to divest ourselves of these burdens of carrying these issues, so they let the states take over. But how many states have the power, have the capacity to shoulder this burden with the stretched resources that they currently have? These are the issues that this government has to contend with. And believe me, it needs a deft touch, right? And strategic thinking to be able to navigate the pathways in front of us as far as it comes to the energy sector in Nigeria. What
changes will need to be made drastically? And I'm asking in particular regarding the role of the minister, because when we talked about the ministers and the reshuffling of the cabinet, there are a number of Nigerians who expressed concerns that the minister still retained his office. Will there or should there have been maybe a reshuffling or a firing of the Minister of Power?
I share those views as well, right? That the sector needs somebody who is familiar with the sector. The minister is trained in accounting, right? He's trained in accounting. He doesn't have the professional qualifications to man this ministry, right? So, well, yes, he may be a good man manager, right? He surrounded himself with the right kind of experts to be able to advise him. And if he's a critical thinker, right, then he should be able to analyze whatever the diverse opinions that he was surrounded with and take decisions. But it would help if you have somebody who knows what the experts know, right? and you can properly take the knowledge base, apply it with what you know about the sector, and be able to come up with decisions. Okay, so I share the view, honestly, along with other people who have said that we need to have somebody who is certified in electricity power systems management, someone who has in-depth knowledge of a sector to be able to run this thing effectively. And typically, those people, you need to get them from within the sector itself, right? People who have grown up within or people who have managed these systems outside the country. We have Nigerians in different who are working in different utilities outside the country who could have been brought in to man that sector because, as I said, it needs industry expertise to run it properly.
Yeah. I mean, but, one thing I've always pointed out is sometimes, and I think Senator Ainaya Abaribe mentioned this sometime last week, that one of the reasons that ministers would fail is because the factors that should aid their success don't exist. Certain levels of infrastructure, of policy, of funding, and other different ideals that should aid the success of that ministry do not exist. And so can the current minister, Adelabu, have the same argument that it's not like he's not trying to work, but there are just many things that make it a struggle to fix Nigeria's power sector. The understanding that we have, or we sold off the distribution aspect of it, but the Nigerian government still has a large part of the generation and transmission part of the power sector. If he says, "Oh, that is a major challenge," and if we don't change all of these things, then we can't work. Does he have a good argument?
Well, yes and no, right? Because we have to make the best of a bad job, right? The different contending factors, as I said, they are myriad. They will task even the best of minds.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody who does not have a knowledge-specific experience in that sector, it just makes things worse. Okay, so yes, we have all those things surrounding us, but it would be best to have somebody who has knowledge of the industry to be able to manage what is essentially a bad set of circumstances to give us the best outcomes. We're not making things easier for ourselves when we put career politicians in charge of sensitive aspects of our economy, like the power sector. That's my honest view.
All right. The Standard Bank has recommended a diversified energy mix to reduce the dependence on the national grid. What options are available, and how very maybe affordable would you say are these, and what policy interventions need to be made to ensure that we push or see more investment in renewable energy solutions?
Yes, I think the Rural Infrastructure Agency has started doing some things along that area. Okay, we are there, and I think the government also has launched something that I forgot the name of what they called it, to assist small-scale businesses and families to access credit in order to be able to put alternative power solutions in their homes and businesses. The cost is not affordable, right? I recently did something like that in my office. I know how much it cost me to get it done. Not many people will be able to afford those things on a one-off basis. So what the government needs to do more, right, is to make credit available to people to be able to put these solutions in their homes and then rely less on the grid. Now, with less reliance on the grid, now what it means now is that the discos can afford to now input the cost of power at the level it ought to be, and because people across the country rely less on it, then they can manage those costs. Now, this also has an effect, mind you, because the more people go off the grid, it means it's less revenue for the industry. So it needs to be carefully thought through, because whatever solutions that we create for the sector will create its own set of problems, right? It's a principle of change management that you must be able to think ahead and think, this solution that you're about to implement, what problems is it likely to create in the future? We don't want to have our utilities becoming bankrupt because of insufficient revenue coming into the system. Yeah. Okay, so while I agree, yes, off-grid can provide a solution, but let it not create a revenue bleed for utilities that have been running since 2013.
Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine the toll that this power situation takes on businesses across the country. Manufacturers, struggling, seriously to meet up with their targets. So there's that part, and also, if you remember, the president signed the electricity bill in 2023 into law. We expected at that time, or some states expected that they will be able to get into full electricity production for themselves. Do you still think that is achievable to some extent? I know that Edo State has the Osisioma power projects, I think. Do you think other states will be able to pick up?
Yes, I know right now about 8 states which have set the process in motion. NEC has also passed necessary regulations to enable them to take charge of the electricity market. But and Enugu State, yes, has done that for themselves. They've EEDC has set up a sub-utility to handle the market within Enugu State. But the principal challenge is, yes, what is the load capacity? What is the capacity of the market of Enugu State to effectively manage, what's the demand in Enugu State? As far as I'm concerned, right, from statistics available, the only states right now which have a viable electricity market will be Lagos State and Anambra State. Lagos State has the industries, they have the population to be able to take whatever the discos can throw at them. But Lagos State has not yet taken control of its electricity market. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? The government is thinking, can we do pay or take? If the demand is lower than the supply, the government must pay for that shortfall. They must pay the discos for it. So can we accommodate it in relation to the other problems that we have? Enugu State has gone ahead of us. We watch what happens. But Anambra is a deeply industrialized state. They are the ones, because any electricity market is founded not on residential consumer statistics, but it is founded, the backbone is the manufacturing, the heavy users. So where are the heavy users in Enugu State? Where are they? So that's the thing. Yes.
All right. I mean, we just can only hope for the best. It's not a good picture. The power outage continues. It seems to continue. I mean, the Lekki environs, we've gotten messages about the causes and how they might need another 15 days before it's resolved. But fingers crossed, we'll keep hoping for the best in Nigeria and with the power sector, but it's not a good look currently. Emeka Ojoko, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you once for having me. Always a pleasure being with you.
It's a pleasure to have you. All right, and as we conclude today's broadcast, I'd like to give a very special shout out to a very special person in my life, my mother, who turned 70 today. The reason that I can show up every day to do the work that I do, to choose a career in broadcasting, is because God blessed me enough to give me the mother who supports my dreams, has always done so, and will continue to do so. So happy birthday, Mom. Thank you for everything. I love you, and thank you. We'll meet at home to continue the celebration. And this is where we draw the curtains today. My name is Olive Emodi, and I'll be right back tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., same time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, I thought it wasn't going to show me. Well, I am Osaoki Ogbawa, and happy birthday to Olive's mom. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.